It's so good to see you. I hope you're happy to be here. There's a lot going on tonight. There's major news on the impeachment trial.
This is the futility we face. 100 U.S. senators taking their oaths of impartiality, and then, just 45 minutes after,
Mitch McConnell voted with 44 other Republican senators that there shouldn't even be an impeachment trial.
Hyper-partisan Democrats are about to drag our great country down into the gutter of rancor and vitriol, the likes of which has never been seen in our nation's history.
Rand Paul, what are you talking about? Rand Paul, look at the video, Rand Paul. Rand Paul, they said hang Mike Pence.
You got Senate Republicans who want to whitewash the whole thing. Well, we're not going to allow them to whitewash anything.
You will recall that it was Mitch McConnell who would not allow an impeachment trial to start until Donald Trump left office. Today he voted that because Donald Trump is no longer president, well, there can't be a trial. There have been 4 Senate impeachment trials of U.S. presidents in U.S. history. 2 of them are for Donald Trump. And so if you mount a violent attack on the U.S. government, including your supporters seemingly being bent on trying to kill the vice president and members of House and the Senate, depending on the timing, it might be okay.
Which is just how kind of odd and transparent the politics have become.
The gutter of rancor and vitriol, the likes of which we've never seen in our nation's history, that is exactly what the former president brought us.
So long as Donald Trump is the head of the Republican Party, they are going to find themselves in the minority. They are going to lose races for the House and the Senate, especially after the insurrection. Impeachment not only removes someone from office, but disqualifies them from future office.
The Founding Fathers, if they could hear this argument that you can't impeach once the guy's out of office, I'm not sure if they would be laughing or crying, but it would have to be one of those two.
So 45 Republican senators today said that there shouldn't even be a trial for this. Forget it. Yeah, they stormed the Capitol and tried to kill the vice president and the Speaker of the House and probably lots of us. And they stormed the Senate chamber and went through all of our desks and had guns and tasers and bats and ransacked the place and thought that would be the way that they'd take control of the government while threatening to kill all of us. But you know what? It was nearly 3 weeks ago.
this really captures the sham. Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley raising their right hands and signing the oath book to swear they'll be impartial when they themselves fed the Trump mob the same lies he did and worse.
They can't pretend they don't know exactly what happened. They were there.
They beat him up before he got into office. They're beating him up after he leaves office. I mean, at some point, give the man a break. Move on.
The moving on part is something that, those are her words. I'm not hearing anybody saying they want to move on except for Republican enablers. Where was that call for unity and kumbaya when the former president was spewing hatred into the public, inciting a riot? I'll have what they're having. That must be nice to live that way. You have no repercussions, no guilt, no accountability. You just move on to the next thing. What we heard from the President of the United States today was something we haven't heard for a very long time from the White House, and that is a fact-based, science-based plan to take on the pandemic.
New administration and new ways to beat back this pandemic. We have positive vaccine news.
President Biden today announcing the purchase of 200 million more vaccine doses, enough to get shots in the arms of every adult in America by the end of the summer.
With Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, he made news when he said Democrats may have a way to pass the COVID relief bill and also President Biden's infrastructure bill just with 50 votes, that they may have even found a way to pass a new minimum wage, a $15 minimum wage.
President Biden signing a series of executive actions on racial equity.
Equity into everything the federal government does.
I ran for president because I believe we're in a battle for the soul of this nation. And the simple truth is, our soul will be troubled as long as systemic racism is allowed to persist. We can't eliminate it. It's not going to be overnight. We must change. And I know it's going to take time, but I know we can do it. And I firmly believe the nation is ready to change.
Eliminating the zero-tolerance policy today that led to kids being separated from their parents at the southern border.
Commander of the D.C. National Guard, so the Pentagon restricted his authority ahead of the riot, requiring higher-level sign-off to respond that cost time as events that day spiraled out of control. But accountability for the elites who inspired the rioters, Donald Trump and the other elected officials who incited that insurrection, well, that's harder to come by.
Go to the other side of the Capitol! That's where Trump's going!
Mike Pence is a bitch! Mike Pence is a bitch! Mike Pence is a bitch!
Pelosi? Yeah, we're coming, bitch! I openly put under the firing squad and found guilty of treason.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ways to try to use force to overthrow the government. One of them is what we saw in the Capitol steps and in the Rotunda and in the Senate chamber and all these other places that the Trump mob got through to. But another one is threatening to kill the family members of members of Congress as a means of trying to force that member of Congress to do what you want. The further we get from the attack on the Capitol, the more details we learn about it, the more criminal cases that are brought against people who were involved, honestly, the sort of heavier that day becomes.
Take the Capitol right now!
Hi, Rand Paul. Take the Capitol.
Movement around the former president continues to be enough of a threat that thousands of National Guard troops will stay in Washington, posted at the U.S. Capitol for weeks to come. And that is not because it's convenient and cheap to have that many National Guardsmen in D.C. Some remarkable news from one of the members of Congress who's in the leadership among that House Democrats, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries of New York, that he is the person described as Congressman One in a really quite scary court document.
The law enforcement officials have apprehended this individual and will allow the process to play itself out.
Republicans have decided, not all Republicans, but far too many, have decided that if democracy can't keep Trump in power, then democracy ceases to have any real purpose.
That's more than a party in disarray. That's something where it's very hard to have a stable democracy based on a two-party system if that's one of the two parties.
Nikki, we are not moving on from insurrection. We're not moving on from sedition. We're not moving on from a violent assault on the Capitol, no matter what you might think of our effort to hold this president accountable.
This is what the Republican Party in this moment wants to be. And I think we just have to quit trying to deny it.
Because after 4 years of racial division, Charlottesville, shithole countries, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, so many other, those are the striking examples. We've got a long, long way to go to undo hundreds of years of racism in this country.